Hello. So today I'm going to be creating a fort, 1800s fort in Minecraft. Find is an island. This should be perfect. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is cutting down these trees. And then I'm going to be filling in the area with fill dirt and sand to make the island larger. Sorry if the music is too loud. I'm not a fast builder by any means, so this might take me a few episodes to recreate. Okay, so we are going to get dirt. Start fortifying. Start fortifying I am quite big history buff, like wars and stuff like that. I just got a good idea. I got inspiration to build stuff. Surprisingly, most forts, and including New York and San Francisco, were built with fill dirt. Or what happened was they used to sink ships in the harbor to make basic land bridges. That wasn't necessarily the best of ideas because, like, tsunamis and stuff like that, they're basically not necessarily solid rock. They're just deteriorating remains and stuff like that. But nowadays, more technology has brought better introductions. So nothing. So there's more preparation for that stuff. But as you can see, I'm just building. I'm going to flatten out this island. I kind of want the fort to be big. Like, I mean, Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter was a good example of a star fort. And everyone, at least in America, knows about Fort Sumter. One of the first acts of bravery that actually showed the British that we're a country and nothing to be. Well, besides that, non-pleasant. Okay, let's get into it. So, I don't necessarily know how large, but I really want it, but I want it to be quite big. Sorry about the lag. We might have some lag. Our Wi-Fi has hit the bottom dollar of its thing. I have to get a new one, but besides that. Eventually I'm going to put different details into the thing. I don't know if I want a basement, most likely not. If you have any ideas on things that I should for, please comment. Most of these things, as you can see, we are... This would make sense for a harbor, because if ships were coming in through the inlet or through these rivers, it would come into here or go around the thing, so it holds both access points, which would make sense for a fort. So we are historically correct there. I'm going to try to be as historically correct for fort as possible as I can do in Minecraft 1.16 or 1.16. Okay, so we got a good base. I don't know. I'm gonna go out a couple 10 blocks, maybe. I mean, this isn't... This would be small for a Minecraft house, but I'm going to make it... I'm gonna make it smaller in size. It's gonna be a smaller size example. So it's not gonna be like 1/100th scale, but it's gonna be a bigger scale, but it's not gonna be what a fort would be, because usually the island that they build them on is quite big or has some strategic importance to it. Okay, so I believe this is good enough. Most of this is a shallow portion, which would make sense for ships to go through the inlet, which is the deeper area. So it wouldn't make sense for go that. Ooh, lava pool. Okay, so what should I make the brick out of? They wouldn't necessarily have wood. Basically what a fort is it could be a star, but what a fort would have that would be contributed to it is in the sense that usually it was built with brick, so I'm going to use brick. And the reason why I'm not using stone brick is because stone brick wasn't... I mean, it was more with bricks that they were made out of clay to use. I mean, there were wood forts, which were basically sticks, but those were pretty much before the days of... This is going to be, those were before the days where they usually wood forts were built maybe in the 1600s, and whenever there wasn't a really prominent place, they would make them out of wood just for safety against any things, but it wouldn't stand up to naval gunfire or anything like that, so they would make them out of brick or stone bricks or stuff like that. But this one's going to have the base of regular bricks. So I'm going to just cover the place. There would also be ramparts. Ramparts are basically they're basically the tops of the walls. The ramparts usually would hold cannons and stuff like that would fire into the harbor. They wouldn't necessarily fire, but they would guard the fort. There would also be staircases leading up to the ramparts, and the ramparts would be... So basically what a rampart would be, so let's say cannons were planted there. That was the rampart. There would be steps leading up to the rampart, which the cannons would fire off of. That's basically what a rampart is. Also, ramparts used to be high places, so they're higher. They so like turrets. You might think turrets, though that's from a ship. Well, turrets and pillars are basically on the sides of the thing, so they would have big turrets. So on on castles where they have towers and stuff like that, those another name for those would also be turrets. And turrets and ramparts were main defenses for forts. But another thing was forts were made to last sieges. Sieges are cut or surroundments by the enemy to uh, basically to starve out the enemy. So forts were supposed to last as much damage as possible that the enemy could give them. So they would be usually made on a large island in a strategic place and meant there to last or to hold for long periods of time without food. So usually there would be homes and different places for higher up officers, as well as barracks, and basically a whole fort is basically a big town, if you will, but it's like a military town. So yeah, and forts don't necessarily have to be like this, where there's big walls and stuff like that. I'm going to actually use stone bricks right now, but they wouldn't necessarily be like that 100% of the time. Forts can be like forts nowadays in the United States, where like places where or places where troops and their families live, not necessarily surrounded by walls, especially if they're in their own country or in the mainland. They're called forts. They're basically just big gathering places. But back in the 1800s, most forts were used in the 1800s. They were more important than when, especially when there wasn't air attack, because forts could last air attacks, but they're mainly defense. So, defense of homeland. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just double up the layer of the walls. And yeah, I'll be back. Okay, now I'm back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find some stone brick wall. Okay. So, gotta love the lag. Okay, so since this is a scale model, well, somewhat scale model, I'm going to make this as not real. It's not going to be much accurate at all for this, unfortunately. I'm going to make it as accurate as possible. So, what I'm doing right at this moment, you might be wondering, what is this that he's doing? So, basically what's happening is these are the outer walls. These are the outer defenses. This is usually where cannons would be or stuff like that. The reason why I'm making it long like this is since I made this in a uh, sort of block style, um, some were stars. I believe lots of them, or the majority of them, were made out of stars. But right now, this is just a miniature scale model, in the sense that if I did put in this scale of fort would be way too small to, or would be way too small to put like guns and cannons and stuff like that. So I most likely will not put that in there, but I'm just going to um, make it look as detailed as possible. So they would either their houses would either be made out of brick or wood. So I'm going to make buildings in this, and you might be able to see by how small it's going to be. But yeah, they're made quite small. Well, you might be wondering why. First of all, you probably won't be wondering because no one will ever see this, but um, it's just, I'm gonna just make it detailed. There's really no function to this except for detail, um, and stuff like that. So that is an example of somewhat of a house. Usually for the powder magazines and stuff like that, it would usually be made out of brick, um, or armory and stuff like that. Um, I'm putting brick stairs or wood stairs on. Brick stairs are trying to imitate shingles, but yeah. In fact, I'm going to. I kind of like that. We're going to. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay. Oops. So yeah, but usually another reason for houses in that they could be converted at any time to battle places, because if if let's say the enemy has captured the outside of the force and are coming in through either the doors or coming in by ship or something like that, what would happen is those ship or the men or the garrison, as they would be called, would line or would either hide or skirmish from the buildings. So they would shoot onto the walls and shoot onto different areas like that, in attempt to hold off the enemy as long as possible. That's the entire purpose of a fort, to hold off the enemy. And as it might be heard that due to facts, it would look similar to this. And usually they would have a big plaza, and for example, I'm just going to grab some this some wood oak fence. I'm going to make the flagpole. The flagpole was an important part of the fort. It would tell you who or in what control. What control the place would be in. So I'm going to. This will be American. Will be an American fort. So I'm going to put some red, white, and blue. Oopsies. There. To be honest with you, we're gonna make this smaller. We're gonna make the thing taller. They don't necessarily make a smaller stuff, except they actually might do. So, okay, so let's get some red wool. No, I don't want that. I want that. Oh, what? I have to put away stuff. My inventory stuff. Okay. So we're going to put blue. We're going to put red. We're going to put the slab. And it is out of order. So, what does that look like? Yeah, no. I'm going to make it bigger because a lot of these flagpoles were huge. They were bigger than anything. Especially in this comparison, it would be close to the right size, but I'm going to make it bigger just so that the flag that I'm creating doesn't look like it is huge for the fort, because that would not necessarily be great. I'm going to make it I like this quartz slab. There's not going to be 13 stripes and 13 stars, just because it's just gonna
Let's get. I'm just gonna put white trim on it. There. Mini land. Okay. And there. Like, okay, so there is an example of a U.S. style fort from probably the 1860s, so around the Civil War, or maybe a little bit afterwards. Well, see you guys and stay tactical. Bye. Hello. So today I'm going to be creating a fort, 1800s fort in Minecraft.